Muscle weighs more than fat. Or does it? Here's two versions of me. One's fat and the other's muscular. But who weighs more? It's time to find out. Now before I start, let me give you a little bit of context. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Tom. And throughout my life, I've always struggled a bit with my weight. Growing up, I was a fat and nerdy kid. But when I hit 16, I decided to go to the gym. It was probably the best decision I could have made. Fast forward 2 years and I saw a lot of progress. But then one day I experienced every gym goer's worst nightmare. I hit a plateau. And even though every month I was getting fitter and stronger, the number on the scales was staying exactly the same. My goal since I'd started was 85 kilos, but I was stuck at 90. I ramped up my training, but as the months went by, I started to wonder why all the hard work I was doing was leading to no improvement. Muscle weighs more than fat, so was it because I was gaining muscle? Surely if I was building muscle, it was replacing the fat I'd lost, and that's why my weight was staying the same. But for another 2 years of training, I had very few changes to my physique, and I started to give up on my goal. Then in 2016, I joined Loughborough University to study sports science. One day in one of my lectures, I stumbled across something shocking.
Muscle really weigh more than fat.
That is a myth.
It turns out that muscle actually weighs the same as fat. Whether it's muscle, fat, or a sack of potatoes, a pound of anything is a pound of anything. People mistakenly think that muscle weighs more than fat, but it just isn't the case. And why do people make this assumption? It's because muscle's more dense. This means it's tighter, more compact, and takes up less space in your body. Here's a visual representation.
We have 1 pound of fat and we have 1 pound of muscle.
Notice how the muscle's smaller, but more packed into a tighter space. Just think about it. A ton of feathers and a ton of bricks weigh the same. And it's the same for a pound of muscle and a pound of fat. This is why two people can weigh exactly the same, but look completely different. The false belief that muscle weighs more than fat stopped me realising the real reason I wasn't losing weight. For the first 1 to 2 years of training, sure, some people do experience beginner gains and put on a lot of muscle. But after this period, there's generally a plateau. It's like when you learn a new skill, you peak. The reason I wasn't losing weight wasn't because I was building muscle. This is just an excuse I was buying into. The real reason was because I wasn't changing anything. I kept my calorie intake the same, and this meant that the amount of body fat that I had stayed the same. Once I realised that it was this that was holding me back, I cut my calories down. And I continued to train really hard. And literally, in a case of a few months, I hit my goal of 85 kilos. The key takeaway from this is that people underestimate how hard it is to build muscle. I thought that after only 2 years of training, the reason I wasn't losing fat was because I was gaining muscle. Let's look at an example of one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, Ronnie Coleman. He's classed as a genetic elite and was taking performance-enhancing drugs. And he said that in his prime, he was gaining 10 pounds of muscle per year. That's 0.83 pounds per month. As a professional, world-class bodybuilder, even in those first 1 to 2 years of training, you probably wouldn't be building as much muscle as you think. So even though I might have been building some muscle, I was definitely overestimating how much I could build. It's taken me 7 more years of hard training to build an amount of muscle that I'm happy with. The most important thing isn't the number on the scales, but a balanced diet, regular exercise routine, and positive mindset, which gives you an approach that you can stay consistent at and stick to, helping you build muscle. If you'd be interested in a tailored training program designed towards your goals, then please contact us today.